What's going on, everyone? So since the Django ban, we've talked about the best meta decks, we talked about the best decks in general, decks that have gotten better, and of course, just overall the meta at large. But we haven't really talked about some options for you budget players out there. Today, we've got 3 decks that are under 50 bucks that you could bring to a tournament, and honestly, I would bring it to a tournament and find that I'd probably have a pretty good shot at taking down the whole event, which is pretty impressive considering that they are under those $50. Most lists are going to have 1 to 2 cards that are sitting at like 20 to 40 bucks. That just puts them out of the range. For like Cad Bane, you've got Cad Bane. For the Millennium Falcon decks, well, Millennium Falcon. You've got Poe Dameron for Sabine. These ones have none of those, and they're still pretty good. Spoiler alert. They're all cunning villainy decks. Oh boy, who knew that cunning and villainy are a good combination? Before we dive into the 3 lists today, big thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. And I got a TCG player link in the description down below if you want to pick up these decks. I did price them as of recording the video on TCG. There are a few cards in here specifically that kind of raise the price of those decks. There's like 1 to 2 key cards that I think are worth definitely picking up, and we'll talk about them as we go through. Let's dive into our first one. For our first one, I am very excited to say Vader Yellow is pretty budget friendly, perhaps the most budget friendly on this list. It's basically a deck of just a bunch of commons and uncommons with the exception of 1 card. This list is extremely fun to play. Definitely one of the most fun lists in general as of post Django meta, but also just one of the most fun lists that I've played, period. Because you get to just swarm the board and have massively large units. The key here is with Vader Yellow, we are just trying to play a bunch of small units. And most of the small units are a bunch of commons and uncommons. First Order TIE Fighter, Republic Y-Wing, a 1/3, basically no other deck wants this card. TIE Fighter, another common, no, basically no deck wants this card. Kajimi Patrollers, another card that no one wants, another common. TIE Vanguard, Zagarian Starhopper, all of these are key because we want a turn 1 play so we can start generating TIE Fighter tokens. A couple of things also in the early game that are going to benefit us are these Wingman Victor 2 and 3s. These are uncommon, but once again, really no other deck is interested in them because they're not going to be doing this whole space go wide strategy in Command Villainy. Then as we get to the 3-drop slot, we've got Sanctioner's Shuttle, another card that is very strong, but again, no other deck is going wide. So this card does not run that expensive. Victor Leader, this is the most expensive card in the deck. It is a rare, and a lot of decks are interested in it because it's like, ooh, here's my Space Lord, right? Like the one that's going to give up everything +1/+1. So this runs, I think, as a price of this video, like $4.50 each. So you're looking at like, 13 bucks roughly for this card set for your deck. If you want to omit this card, you are welcome to. I think this is one of the stronger cards in the deck. It is something that people deliberately target because it is so powerful when you are playing it, but you could omit it and still have a functional deck. Clone Combat Squadron, another one that no other deck wants because they're not going wide, but it works perfectly in Vader. Dornian Gunship, same thing. Geonosis Patrol Fighter, another common that just works well with the exploit strategy. Punch It and Surprise Strikes, very, very standard commons that just pump in more damage. No Good to Me Dead and Waylays for a little bit of disruption. And then Overwhelming Barrage. This is the other most expensive card in the deck. This one, I would not recommend cutting. If you were to go for Victor Leader or Overwhelming Barrage, you're like, okay, I only got like, 30 bucks to spend or whatever on your list, which is totally reasonable. Guys, go for the Overwhelming Barrages. These are exceptionally powerful. They work extremely well with the Clone Combat Squadron. When you get to that Vader flip and you're able to slot that Vader onto Clone Combat Squadron, this thing becomes like an 11-11, 12-12, things like that. And then you just get to wipe their board with Overwhelming Barrage, like immensely. Like not even just, oh, they have a bunch of small units. Like, no, they have, 9, 10 toughness units. Guess what? You're killing those and potentially more units with an Overwhelming Barrage. It is incredibly powerful. In terms of sideboard, we don't have a sideboard for this because, again, we're trying to keep it very, very budget, just what you directly need for the decks. But if you are interested in going definitely some upgrade hate can definitely fit into the sideboard. Confiscate's a very good one. If you're looking for some more disruption, more no good to me deads and waylays can fit into the sideboard as well. Commandeer is a premium choice if you're looking to spend a little bit of extra money. It's a $4 rare from JTL, and that's going to be an amazing one for those space decks. And of course, you have things just all across the board in terms of specific hate towards specific decks. You can definitely go for TIE Phantoms for control decks, and you can definitely go for more exhausting like outmaneuver and things like that for more aggressive decks. This one is very, very cheap, and I believe as of pricing this video was the cheapest, sitting somewhere around like 40 something dollars when I priced it out. It's really the Victor, Leader, and Overruling Barrage carrying the price. The rest is extremely cheap, and in fact, when you price it out, it might even be cheaper than that. I wish the Star Wars Unlimited database was actually pricing out cards, but unfortunately that feature is not working. Otherwise, I would tell you the exact price that I have for you today. Oh boy, another Cunning Villainy and another space strategy in Boba Yellow. This deck's still quite good even after the Triple Dark Raid bans. Yes, this deck did get hit pretty hard, but it was an extremely powerful deck beforehand with Triple Dark Raid, and now it's just a solid option. I actually think the Vader deck is a little bit more powerful than Boba Fett, just FYI, but Boba Fett's still very, very solid. As we go through, we actually have a suite of ground units in this list. First Order Stormtrooper to deal some indirect damage. Honestly, the amount of indirect damage this deck can pump out, especially with Boba Fett's action, just dealing another one every single turn, you will just pump in so much damage so quickly that some decks just get completely overrun. Like Palpatine decks, whew, this thing just runs right through them. Pride, another great one. Obviously, if you have the initiative, this is going to deal a ton of indirect damage, definitely dependent on initiative. Guerrilla Soldier, a random common. This one has been extremely impressive, just in this deck, but also a lot of decks in general. This oftentimes deals 2 damage to the base immediately when it comes down, or 1 to 2 damage, and then you find yourself with an immediately readied up 2-powered unit. Yes, it doesn't have the 3 or 4 power, but you would have to get in multiple attacks to make up that power differential, like 2 separate attacks, because this thing gets an attack immediately. So you need 2 attacks with the other units to actually make up that damage that he's getting immediately, not to mention the indirect damage comes in and just smacks, especially with Boba Fett that deals 4 damage when it comes down. This is the only card that I had to downgrade for this list. Every other card is a card that I'm absolutely happy running and something that I do want in the list. This Mercenary Gunship used to be Kylo's Silencer. Now, Kylo's Silencer is absolutely a card that you could consider to upgrade in this deck, but to be honest, the upgrade is very marginal. Most of the time, when you play Mercenary Gunship in a Boba Fett list like this, your opponent can't afford to just be spending 4 to take control of the unit. And even if they do, you can absolutely play around that and spend 4 to take it back. If that's what they're doing, most likely you are winning the game. Just an FYI, because of how much damage you can pump out. Remember, Boba Fett's a 6 to deploy leader as well, so when you get into that mid game, you actually have some really nice options. But I do think there are some situations where Mercenary Gunship does end up harming you a little bit. So Kylo Silencer is an upgrade, but it's not a significant upgrade like some other options in other decks. Zagrean Starhopper, Droid Missile Platform, Elite P-38, all commons. So even though P-38 is a super popular card and Zagrean Starhopper is pretty popular, they are commons. They're extremely, well, common. Fett's Fire Spray, one of these special deck cards. Now this one's interesting in that the actual standard starter deck card is pretty expensive. It's like $2.50. But then, like, when you have a foil version of it, it goes down like 40 cents or whatever. So this is one of those situations when you're pricing it, just make sure you're choosing the right option, because there are a lot of options for this card. But very, very powerful in Boba Fett. IG 2000, this is one of the more expensive cards of the deck, just because of how common this rare was, especially with Django, but it's still being played in like Cad Bane, still an excellent card. This thing runs usually about like $3 to $4. Kamogila Heavy Fighter, not a card that any other deck is playing. Nice common. Fett's Fire Spray, this thing's dropped so much since the Django and Boba bans. This thing's at $1. I can't even believe that it's sitting at $1 now. Yeah, 3 copies of this. Really nice, immediately ready up unit with Boba Fett flip. We've got Ruthless Raider. This one's also the other expensive one alongside IG 2000. This one's sitting at usually about $2.50 just because of how powerful the card individually is. A lot of decks are just kind of playing this as a value piece. We've got a bunch of events here: daring raid, breaking in, a little bit of direct damage, a little bit of pumping up some units, some disruption with no good to me dead, outmaneuver and waylays. Sneak attack is the last card that we're going to talk about because it is a little bit of a price tag. It's $3 each as of recording this video, and between this, Ruthless Raider, and IG 2000, it makes up the vast majority of the price here. This one definitely is a key one. You could go 2 copies, but I do think if you're going to choose cards to really make sure you have, honestly, you really can't skimp on the cards that cost money in this deck. You can go a little bit lower on sneak attacks. You don't need to run the full 3 of. 2 of is okay, but sneak attack does give you that late game immediately ready to potential that triple dark raid gave you, but now you can still have it with sneak attack. It works really well with Ruthless Raider. So if you're gonna skimp on one, maybe go and skimp on the IG 2000 and run the combination of Ruthless Raider and sneak attack, because they have a very, very powerful synergy. But overall, this thing runs similar to Boba Yellow, or Vader Yellow rather. Vader Yellow tends to be a little bit cheaper. I think I overestimated the price on that deck, but this runs closer to the $30 to $40 range as well. Well, you're going to do some work with this one. Now we're going to talk about the last deck on the list in Gar Yellow. Oh boy, another cutting villainy list. I spoiled it, guys, at the beginning. This is what we're going to sign up for. This guy is probably the best deck on the list today, and has actually taken down a couple smaller tournaments and performed well, getting into top 64. Same with the Boba Yellow, same with the Vader Yellow, but this one's done pretty well for itself. The key cards in the deck are not expensive at all. Director Krennic and Crafty Smuggler. Key turn 1 plays. Director Krennic in particular, this thing's like the 30 cents. Again, it's an uncommon. It's not like massively played across multiple decks, so its price hasn't risen to crazy amounts. Overall, I mean, the deck's all about that upgrade, natural upgrades on a bunch of units, which I said since set 2 is going to be the key with Gar Saxon. I want units that just automatically are upgraded when they come in. I don't want to have to work with my upgrades. So Crafty Smuggler, Director Krennic, amazing. Greedo with Director Krennic could be on turn 1. Absolutely amazing start. Outer Rim Outlaws, just amazing, kind of 4/3 shielded. Units are really tough to deal with. Toro gets pumped up by those bounty hunters, or rather gets to attack in multiple times with the bounty hunters. This one can definitely be Boba Fett. I think Toro doesn't have many bounty hunters to really work off of. And if you do have the extra money, you can spend on that legendary Boba Fett, the 3/5, but it is a hefty price tag typically. Iden, this is one of the more expensive cards in the deck. This is sitting at like $4-ish. This one's definitely a strong one. I don't like the full 3 of, because it is an expensive upgrade in the situations where you are piloting her onto things, but it is a nice 2 of, I think. Definitely in certain matchups, it can just completely dominate a space arena. Long Pike, nice little smuggle option. There's a lot of smuggle options in this deck, actually, but this one just passes around upgrades and can help you race. A little bit of you just value pieces, commons / uncommons in the space arena. We've got Cartel Spacer, 7th Fleet Defender, Inferno 4s. Shuttle ST, this one's amazing with Krennic. Krennic into Shuttle is a very common curve. I can go, you can go Krennic, Greedo into Shuttle, and that is just a nuts curve with Gar Saxon. TIE Advanced to help with some Imperial units. Remember, Gar Saxon is also an Imperial unit. In terms of events, none of these are expensive. We got Covert Strength, Asteroid Sanctuary as commons alongside Surprise Strike. No Good to Be Dead as an uncommon. Snapshot Reflexes is a nice little upgrade. No other deck wants to be playing this one. So this one, it is a starter deck card, which makes it a little bit more expensive in some situations, but this card is very, very solid in the deck, but nothing like expensive to like more than $1 usually. This is the only card that actually costs money alongside items. This, comes out to like $9, $10-ish. Hotshot Blaster's like $13 or something like that. Last time I checked. This is the card that literally is the entire price of the deck. Okay. Like between this is like $40, like just for Hotshot Blasters. Is it worth it? 100%. The card is amazing in Gar Saxon, and if you were to remove this, it would make the deck significantly weaker, I will say. This card just works super well with the shielded units that you have. It acts as an upgrade, so this is oftentimes +3/+0 in Gar Saxon. You get the smuggle value. I mean, there's a reason why it's $13 in most decks, but this deck just works with it so well. You can take it out, but as I said, it is going to be a significantly weaker deck. To be honest, though, if you do take out Iden, or if you take out Hotshot Blaster, to be honest, this is sitting at like $20. Or not even $20. It's like $15. Because of all the other cards. When you add Hotshot Blaster, it's like $30. It's like sitting around that little bit over $30, or did I say 30? $50. It's like around that $50 range. I'm overestimating the hotshot blasters realistically, but around when I priced this, it was sitting at just about $50. So this is borderline the under $50 range that I had. But guys, I had to include it because it's Gar Yellow. It's such a sick deck. Honestly, though, if you just go like 2 of Hotshot Blaster, that's definitely still very good. And you're going to shave off like $13 off the price tag, as I said. So that's definitely one way to go. Just go with 2 of to keep it under that $50 range. And then you can kind of run up like another covert strength if you want another smuggle option. Or you can just, fill in another piece or even add whatever you want realistically. Another option for this in terms of sideboarding, you got commandeers in the sideboard if you want to pay a little bit extra. Same thing with Vader. So you got like, waylays if you want to add. You can add in just more pieces that you have in terms of tie advanced or Ida Inversios. You could be adding in some more controlling elements, takedowns, power the dark sides, perilous positions, those type of things to stall the game. And I don't think I went over the Boba Fett's ones, but same thing really as the Vader Yellows, more upgrade aid, more space versus ground exhaustion, more interaction. In that case, you do have Daring Raid to add, another copy of Daring Raid. In aggression, also you have things like the open fires and more interaction of that note. But those are the 3 decks that I would advise, guys. These are 3 decks under 50 with a small asterisk besides Gar Saxon, because I think this was like $51 when I priced it out. So pardon that extra dollar, guys. Just don't include all 3. Look, guys. Oh my gosh! Wow. Look, it's now it's a $40 deck now. Wow, fantastic. But definitely the other 2 are gonna definitely be on the cheaper side. Vader Yellow in particular is an amazing option if you just want to run in with not only a super fun deck, a very powerful deck, but also a cheap deck. That's the one you want to go with. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. If you have other options that you think are worth for the budget section, let me know. I considered Rex Green, but to be honest, Command and Unity of Purpose, the combination of the 2 are actually going to push you even further over the $50. I don't even think it's nearly as strong as like these 3 lists that I've talked about today. In anytime you look at the other top lists, you're looking at like Podamrons, which are sitting at $40 a piece, and like Sabine Yellow doesn't really work without Podamrons, or Sabine Green rather. If you're looking at like double red Sabine, well, guess what? You're looking at Aggression. Sabine Yellow, you're looking at Millennium Falcons. Quinlan's got all sorts of things. Cad Bane's got Cad Bane as a unit and a bunch of other stuff. So definitely a lot of the other top lists. And of course, if you're going to go mid-range or controlling, like you got Vaders, like the legendaries, like Luke's, Vaders, etc. The heroism side of things was a little bit tricky. I was trying to get a heroism deck in here, but I just didn't feel like they were up to the same quality as the other 3s that I have here, or they were just too expensive. And that's just the state of heroism, I suppose, right now. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you all for the next one.